Hey folks, Triple Crown here, coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia. This is a round 13 summary, Operation Western Europe, and it's the time of the game if we're going to play to 15 rounds where every move is important. We are using the Sire Blood victory conditions, and we'll get into, besides victory cities, what the Axis and allies are trying to either achieve or deny. And the Japanese, well, they are creating all kinds of problems for the British in the Middle East. The British now have basically backed out of southern Iran. They've got a couple tanks sitting over here, and they've got some infantry in Tehran. They've got a couple military bases. They've got only one here in Tehran. This is actually a French military base. And the other two have been moved. They are now sitting over here, west of Cairo. And why this is such a problem for the British is they've kind of tied them up. The British want to be heading over here into Greece and threatening Rome and putting pressure on Italy and Germany, but it's having the Japanese here has sort of had the reverse effect. From what the British are trying to do. Their ground forces are dwindling down. There's still 4 naval transports here, which could at any time go and hit South Africa. They could go and hit Cairo. They could go and land in Transjordan again. Or they could just now, at this point of the game, start punching hard. They've got all these units here, start punching hard west into the Middle East and start gobbling up at least an oil point, which is going to be worth a victory point for the Axis, but also it's going to deny the British 10 NO bonus. So that is huge. 5 for all the territories and 5 bonus. So that is huge. The Japanese also now, they possibly could take out Novosibirsk next turn, which would secure them the China point, which is very hard to get. Besides, to get the China point, the China NO bonus. First, the Japanese have to control all the Chinese marked territories, and also it's a 7 NO bonus besides. So it's pretty significant, but it's very hard to do. Like, you have to be dedicated, because once those, if you allow the KMT and the CCP to build up stacks of forces, it almost becomes something that you can't get for the rest of the game. So Russia now is spending quite a bit of money in Novosibirsk to secure it. There's a couple British fighters there helping out. Currently, the Russians have 1 or 2 more units there. Is it enough to defend it? But if it falls, it's going to definitely secure the China point for the game. And then there's another NO bonus, not an NO bonus, but a victory objective we'll talk about over here. The Japanese did take out the Commonwealth Navy that was sitting here, a combined British Anzac Navy, and they lost a couple of units themselves. The Americans did bring over a couple more guys, and the dudes that were in Queensland walked down into Sydney. So it's kind of a stalemate. So if we're going to talk about, now's a good time to talk about victory objectives. So I've used these, if you can see here, these are the 39 victory city objectives from HBG. Currently, the Axis have 12 victory cities with Stalingrad, Warsaw, Hong Kong, Manila, Calcutta, Singapore, Shanghai, Rome, Tokyo, and Berlin. These are pretty safe for now, other than, are the Allies going to go for Rome? These are the victory cities that are still in play. Possibly Cairo, Sydney, Leningrad, Honolulu, Moscow. No, definitely not Washington. But anyways, these are the victory objective roundels from BBR. And this is sort of what the Axis, they have to have 18 at the end of round 15 to win. So they currently have 15. And what's in play is the money points. So whoever has the most money at the end of the game, Axis or allies, that's a victory objective. and also the islands. So the Axis want to start grabbing some of these allied islands, whether it's the Solomons, Lean, New Herbies, Johnson, Midway, or Wake. That's a victory objective there. Also, there's 2 levels of oil, so they definitely need to get into the Middle East. But this is what they currently have. They've got the Pacific Islands, which are the own Japanese islands, the World Oil, which is actually 6 territories, not 4, the China Point, the South Asia Point, and so they are chipping away. So these aren't exactly all the objectives that from Bloodbath that transfer over, but when you play Bloodbath, or anybody who's played Bloodbath, the rule set, it gets very intense the last few rounds. And currently, what I think is hinging on this game is last round, the Russians were attempting to receive Lend-Lease money from the Americans, and half of it got intercepted. And this could be the game. You know, if Novosibirsk holds for another round, because what the Japanese also want to do for another victory objective is they call it the Rising Sun. So they want to control all of Mongolia, all of Tibet, all of Afghanistan, which are these neutrals here. So there's, you know, basically 6 units they've got to kill. And they also have to control 1 territory in South America. And currently there's only 1 American unit there. So that is also a possibility. And how did the Americans deny that? Well, they don't have, they're not going to have any naval transports left in the Pacific. So that's going to be interesting. Currently, all those heavy bombers are the American Air Force sitting in the Lean Islands. So that's a problem. Japan over here is making like $126. They built a Yamato for destroyers and 2 more fully loaded transports next round with 2 SNLF and amphibious tanks. America built 5 subs and their own battleship. The British over here in Africa, they took back the liberated Italian territories of Ethiopia and Somaliland. They also sent a French transport. They grabbed the British unit from Malta to grab Sicily, and the Free French from Tunisia landed on Sardinia. Over here on the Eastern Front, it's just a game of attrition. Last round, the Germans, I think they spent $90, so they've got a ton of ground forces. Now this stack here is all sitting in Stalingrad. You know, if at any point the Russians get too cute and start veering away from their capital, all of these forces they're gonna take Moscow. So they're really forcing Russia. It doesn't have a lot of money. But I think last round they did receive 10 from the Americans, but they're around $38 or $39. So not a lot of money, particularly if Germany is spending, you know, 40 or $50 here, which they're not going to be able to do for much longer. And that is because this is the stack of stuff that's sitting in Reims. So we've got more than double. So Western Germany could likely fall, possibly fall within a round or 2. So what the Germans have to do now is reinforce Berlin. They built 10 units last turn. Now what could happen here is, yes, all these forces are in Western Germany, but the southern flank of Bavaria, there needs to be a blocker there, and forces in Berlin, so that if the British can open and take Bavaria, all these American tanks could blitz through and take Berlin. So the goal now is definitely save Berlin, and all these forces here might back up into Berlin and let them take Western Germany, which is definitely going to hurt the Germans. And why the Allies are currently thinking to go towards Berlin is because there's such a stack of Germans here with this Air Force that if they at all start heading south towards Rome, all those German forces, they're just going to go retake Paris. So that is the thought process there. Now currently, the Parisians or the new French government, last round they made $18. So that's you know, they're going to be dumping, you know, either 3 tanks or 6 infantry worth of units in Paris every round. They've also got a military base here in Syria, which they could be dropping off an infantry return, which they should. And the Italians, they made 21 last turn. They're in a little bit of a trouble. You know, Rome could easily fall, but you know, it's if the Allies want to make that push, they are going to give up Paris. So it's really only one objective. What's the point? The Italians did take back Marseille from the Free French last, or the French last turn. So there's going to be a bit of a can opening, or sorry, ping pong happening there. America, they just built 14 units at home to check across, a couple more tanks and infantry, and the Canadians are sending 4 units a turn. The British last turn, they even though despite making 69 last round, they spent a lot of their money over here in Africa, in the Middle East, and also in Australia. So they've only got 7 or 8 units to drop off next turn. So it's going to be interesting what happens. I still don't know who's going to win. If the Axis are going to win, it's going to be a bit of a Hail Mary. But like BBR, you know, the game is fairly even. Now, if this was a game right now between 2 people that weren't playing solo, I believe the best player would win. So if the best player was playing the Allies, they would win. If the best player was playing the Axis, they would win, because they would simply outmaneuver their opponent and able to sort of achieve these objectives that we've been talking about. And yeah, that's kind of similar what happens in BBR. The best team or the best player wins, which is a sign of a balanced game, which is what the whole purpose of this game was, to see what happens when the Allies go Western Europe. Do the Axis still have that opportunity or that chance to win? And as of right now, I believe they do. So stay tuned for round 14, and thanks for watching, folks.